It's my honor today to introduce to you one of our clients who inspires me to this day. He's one of the bravest police officers you will ever meet. His life was changed forever by an encounter with an armed criminal who should never have had a gun and who would not have had a gun had a gun seller for a moment put public safety ahead of profit. He has come here today to tell his story because there is no better way to convey to you how important it is that the work of the Brady Center, the legal work that we have done, continue for the next 20 years. I want to introduce you to Ken McGuire. Ken.
I'm pleased and honored to be a part of the celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Brady Legal Action Project. I'm humbled to be in front of the room, in front of Jim and Sarah Brady and you know, all the lawyers that I had, and you know, I just want to go into my story. Lawyers are generally not very popular among police officers. They beat us in court, they beat us up at narcotics investigations, gun investigations. But I have to say that my feelings about lawyers changed about 180 degrees after I met the ones that work for the Brady Center. I can recall reading an article in the New Jersey Star-Ledger while I was in the hospital about how a convicted criminal about the convicted criminal that shot Dave and I was able to obtain a gun. Being a police officer, I knew that something just wasn't right with this process, and there was missing pieces to the puzzle. Dave and I did not know about the legal processes that the Brady Center provides at no cost to victims around the country. My story begins 8 years ago when I was a police officer in Orange, New Jersey. On a frigid January night, there was 6 inches of snow on the ground. Dave Lemongello was on a stakeout at a gas station that had been repeatedly preyed upon by armed robbers. He spotted a suspect who matched the description, and Dave got out of his car to approach him. Dave asked him, he said, "Yo, my man, take your hands out of your pocket, Orange Police." At that time, the guy turned around and shot him 3 times. He was shot in the lung, the stomach, and the arm. The suspect's name was Shantez Everett. He was a convicted felon who was prohibited by law from having a gun. I chased him down into a backyard, and through an exchange of gunfire, the suspect was killed, and I was shot 2 times in the legs and in my stomach. My injuries were serious, as were Dave's. The night of the shooting, I lost 17 units of blood. But going back to John's, down to hell, my father says you can't kill a bad thing. Dave and I's careers were ended on that night. I always knew growing up that I was going to be a police officer. Everybody that ever knew me knew that I was going to be a cop. It was my dream, my destiny to follow my father in his footsteps with the gun, badge, and uniform. And you know, to protect people. That's why you go into that business. You definitely don't go into it for the money. Shantez Everett should never have had a gun. When I found out how the Ruger 9mm got into his hands, it made me angry. The path of Everett's gun began hundreds of miles away in a West Virginia pawn shop, Will Jewelry and Loan. 6 months before the shooting, a New Jersey cocaine dealer named James Gray, I never met him on the street, but I heard he was a bad guy, recruited a local West Virginia drug dealer, user who had a clean record to act as a straw purchaser. In view of the clerk, Gray picked out 12 handguns. The straw buyer filled out the federal form and paid thousands of dollars in cash. Gray carried the guns out of the store, destined for criminals like Shantez Everett. In fact, about 3 months prior to that, to me meeting Shantez Everett in that cold backyard, I arrested a guy with the same Ruger 9mm in a bar about to have a gunfight from the same shipment of guns. So when we sat down in Newark that day, John just put the pieces of the puzzle back together for us. Can there be any doubt that the pawn shop knew that he was selling 12 handguns destined for a crime? What legitimate gun owner would buy 12 handguns at a time? These are all questions that you have to think about. The pawn shop should have never sold those guns. But if we didn't have our lawsuit, they would never be held accountable. And had the Brady Center lawyers and staff like John Lowy, Elizabeth Hale, Dennis Shanks, and another member of their team that became very special to me, John Shanks, our case would have never succeeded without these people. We filed a lawsuit against the pawn shop in its hometown, Charleston, West Virginia. After the pawn shop failed to get our case dismissed, it agreed to settle by paying us substantial damage for our injuries. Even more important, the pawn shop voluntarily instituted a policy of selling of no more than one handgun per month. Two other nearby gun shops started a similar policy. That's what made it worth everything, is to get them to change the way that they did business. It really said something about what we were doing. But it didn't come easy. Dave and I had to travel to D.C. to lobby our government representatives against the immunity bill, which would have eliminated our lawsuit. We were just asking them to give us an opportunity to bring our case to the court because our lawsuit made sense. We met with many lawmakers, and many of them were agreeable to our argument. But the Brady Center's lawyers helped two New Jersey cops finally get justice. We also sent a message to gun dealers across the country. Those who put the almighty dollar ahead of public safety and selling guns will pay a high price. I want to thank each and every one of you for your support of the Brady Center's work seeking justice in the courts for gun violence victims like Dave and I. There is no question that cases like mine have saved lives, including the lives of police officers like me. Thank you for your time and your support.